I guess I've started recording now. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So we have done definitions, and now it is time to graduate from definitions to something more elaborate. Okay. And before I introduce the next module to you guys, I want you to tell me something. Okay. I want you to tell me, what do you understand by the term description? A very simple question. Huh? So you just give me simple answers. Simple question which expects simple answers. What is your understanding of the term
Describing
description?
about a particular topic,
Ma'am,
Oh,
it
ma'am.
is nothing
thank
but
you.
a
Okay,
elab.
hold on. Let me just finish off responding to what was just said. Somebody said describing something. Now I
Yes,
want
ma'am.
to tell
Describing about a particular topic.
you something, Mohit. Definitions, I'm glad you said that, okay, because yesterday while teaching definitions I completely forgot to mention this very important thing that we often do. You know what we often do? We often use this part or a modification of the same word to define that word. Like my word here was description, and Mohit, I don't know who, used the same word to define description, which should not be ideally done. Okay, when you are given the word description, you should avoid using anything of that word. Like you should not say describe or description. So Mohit, would you like to give it a try without using the word describing?
I'll see, ma'am, and try.
Try. Or others, anybody. Just
Ma'am, elaborating.
Ma'am,
Gathering
it's
clues,
a
ma'am.
okay, somebody said elaborating. Okay, elaborating. Okay, fine, but again, not very specific.
Briefing about the object.
Gathering clues, ma'am.
Sorry,
Briefing about the object.
Gathering clues, ma'am.
briefing. You guys are using vague words. I want you to become more and more specific. What is your? Forget about definitions. We're nothing. This is nothing to do with definitions. What is your understanding of the word description?
Ma'am, gathering
Detailing,
information
ma'am.
about a
Detailing, ma'am.
particular object.
Detailing. Okay, somebody says detailing.
Ma'am, elaborating about its attributes.
Elaborating on its attributes. Now here attributes means its features and characteristics. Anybody else would like to add anything to what has been already said?
Ma'am, gathering information like about a particular object.
Okay,
or a thing.
giving information about a particular object. Now when you give information or when you describe, what is your intention? What is your intention? What happens?
We want to express, ma'am. Express.
Okay, express. Okay, fine. So basically, okay, all right. Okay, now I'm going to just say something. Okay, say Uttejita. Uttejita, you are around, right? I can see you there. Uttejita, what is the first thing that you see around you? Quickly. Self. Dear, you should unmute Uttejita. Okay, Uttejita is not responding.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Oh, she's back with us. Yes, Uttejita, tell me the first thing that you notice around you. First thing that you spot, without giving much thought. Around,
Right
just look
now.
around the first thing. Yeah, that's
Okay. Coconut, ma'am.
wow, a coconut. All right. So are you around like out in your backyard or something? Wonderful. So Uttejita, if I have to ask you to describe coconut, what would you do? Go ahead and do it. Describe coconut.
It has something. It has liquid inside it, and when we drink, it's cool and it reduces heat in our body.
Wow.
Then it's a very tasty one.
Describe.
Okay, describing. It's
Describe.
husk is used to make coir, which is
Describe. You're still not describing it.
okay. It's green in color. Okay, yeah,
Oh,
that way.
finally you got it. Okay. So actually, instantly when you say describe, you actually start talking about its attributes, like Rahman said, right? So essentially what happens when you describe something, the intention is to help someone create a mental image of something that you want to convey. Mental image. Like what happens when you're reading a story? What do? You start imagining it, right? So your mind starts creating some images, like character, you start seeing the character or seeing that house that is being described, the garden that is being described. So you start building mental images when you read a description. So what is essentially a description? Description is offering certain physical characteristics of a particular object or a thing so that the listener or the reader is able to visualize it. Having word description, let us today learn something called how to write technical description. Are you getting me now? That is the whole connection. Okay, technical description. I'm going to share slides with you to make it easy for you to follow what I'm going to discuss today. So just give me a moment so that I share this window. I hope you are able to see this slide. Are you? What is that you can see on your desktop? Can you tell me?
Technical description.
Yes. Okay, fine. So wonderful. Now we are not talking about just random description or general description, but we are specifically talking about technical description. So here when I say technical description, you're basically going to learn how to describe technical objects, how to describe devices, machines, and so on. Okay, so let us go step by step. Now you have just learned what definitions are, and I want you to first understand how you're going to graduate from definitions to technical descriptions by understanding how these two concepts are different from one another. Okay, so what happens when you provide a definition, it's different. So for example, I'm going to explain the difference by using this example. Okay, I know it's an outdated example, but nevertheless it serves the purpose. So the example here is a computer diskette, that is CD, is a device used for storing electronic data. That is your definition. So definition only provides essential information for someone to identify what it is, to understand what it is. Okay, but what you read next, okay, the common computer diskette is 3.5 inches by 3.5 inches and approximately 1 by 8 inch thick, is a example of description, because now what you're doing, you have started describing it by talking about its dimension. Okay, so that's the difference. That is what moving from definitions and descriptions to description is all about. But remember, a technical description always begins with a refined definition. You start with a definition because that's the first thing you need to do when you're introducing a new concept to someone. You define it for them and then elaborate it, right? Then give other essential information. So let us see what to give and how to organize it. Okay, so let's go and understand what this technical description is all about. As mentioned here, it is a detailed description of the physical aspects of a thing, essentially a physical aspect of a thing. So which means you need to talk about its color, shape, size, width, height, basically all the physical aspects. Okay, I have listed a few out here. Then before I tell you what are the details that go into it, I want to have a brief discussion on something more important, because what we are discussing today is technical description, and that is why discussing this becomes important even before I teach you how to write technical description. Okay, so take into consideration these two words that I have put there. The first word is process and the other word is procedure. Now, what do you think? Do you think these words are same? No. Please be frank, okay? Now, answering the question. Do
Yes,
not
ma'am.
worry. Okay.
Ma'am, process
Yeah.
process
Yes.
means doing the work, ma'am. Procedure means how to do that one, ma'am. Like the
Wow. Who's
manual.
this? Who's this?
Adi, ma'am. Adi Kartikeya.
Okay, Adi Karthikeyan, you have nailed it, dear. Yes, that's what I was looking for, but I didn't expect to receive it this soon. But yes, you have nailed it. So let me tell you first, if you are typing this word process on Microsoft Word and you have a drop down menu, right, that is available next to the word if you right click, and it gives you suggestions, right, like synonyms, thesaurus, and so on. So if you see In under synonyms, when you type process, procedure will appear as what? A suggestion. And under procedure, process will appear as suggestion. So superficially, these two words might seem similar and often used interchangeably. But when you talk about technically when you talk about being technically correct, let me tell you, as Karthikeyan, as Adi Karthikeyan pointed out to us, these are two distinct words with two very different meanings. Okay, procedure is set of instructions. Okay, it's more like a document which is needs to be followed in order to accomplish a certain task, and when that task is being accomplished, that is called the process. that that actual following of those instructions or the procedure is what is process. So that's the pure technical difference between process and procedure. Do you get me? I hope that's clear. Now I'm going to introduce you to another set of words which you often see on in the specifications of electronic gadgets, like water resistant is one, water repellent is the other, and waterproof is the third one. So what do you have to say about these three words? Do you think they're interchangeable? Do you think they can be substituted by each other?
No, ma.
No, ma'am.
So
No, man.
yes, they can't be. But as I again said, yes, if you are right, maybe if you are like, just say for example, if you look up for these words, okay, and then if you look up for the synonyms, then you might have these other words as suggestions. So you cannot assume that if I'm bored with waterproof, I can use water resistance and then I can maybe change to water repellent. No. Okay, these three words, when you talk about them as scientific terms or technical terms, mean very different. And when a brand or a product claims itself to be waterproof or water resistant or water repellent, they mean something. Okay, they just cannot simply throw these words around. They cannot simply use these words. They need to use them only if their product fulfills certain standards. Like for example, can anybody tell me what is waterproof and how it's different from other two terms?
Ma'am, waterproof means nothing but it works even if it touches with it gets contact with water, ma'am. Water repellent means it won't get contact with water, means it will repel the water, ma'am. It won't. The
Okay.
water won't stay on that. Water resistance means it can take water, but for a time, ma'am.
Certain
But for
degree. Oh,
certain
yes, you're
certain
right.
time, ma'am.
Okay, so waterproof, if you look at these three words, waterproof offers you the maximum protection from the water, right? So it's like you can immerse it in water. And again, in fact, these words have to be used cautiously, because again, when you say waterproof, there are various degrees. If you're buying some products, and you will have something called ingress, gradient, like which tells you how much of water proof it is, like to what degree. There's something called imperviousness, okay, to water, like the water cannot penetrate it. But again, how much, to what extent, you'll see, there's something called IP code mentioned in these products. If you look at your electronic gadgets, like especially your watches and your laptops or your phones, you'll have something called IP code there. Even if they say waterproof, they have to mention their ingress protection rating scale, which will say to what degree. Then there are some codes there which you need to know, right? So at the same, so waterproof, water resistance is probably the lowest water protection out of three, and water repellent is again where you have that some kind of coating which will make it, water repellent, like where the water will not get into it because it has a coating. But again, these words have specific meaning, right? So why am I introducing you to these concepts? Because I want you to remember that when it comes to technical description, your language is very important. Okay, and what kind of language should you use? Not something that's subjective, that is ambiguous. Okay, that is what you find in literature. That's the beauty of literature, poetry. Okay, that's subjectivity. But when it comes to technical descriptions, your language has to be very specific, precise, concrete. Okay, you should not have any words which are generalized, vague, which could have multiple meanings, and so on. Right? So you can use appropriate terminology, use specific words, and use objective language. Done. And very important is use present tense, active verbs to describe, isn't it? Like for example, when I just second. Yeah. So when I asked Uttejita to describe what she could see around, she picked up a coconut, and if you notice, she had a green husk and so on, right? So she used simple present tense. So remember, that is how you need to describe. Okay, you need to use simple present tense in order to describe, because the description that you provide are facts. Okay, so what you have around you is a fact. Like for example, I am sitting at a desk at this moment. I am sitting at the desk. Okay, continuous tense because it is in process. But the desk is brown in color. It is rectangle in shape. It is like say oh, 3 feet long and 1 feet wide and so on. So simple present tense. Okay, guys, fine. So now I will tell you what to include in your description. Fine, ready? Shall we carry on with the discussion? Anything that you want to say or contribute so far?
No, ma'am.
Okay, you guys are still up, right? Awake. Hope.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there we go. What kind of details do you put into technical description? Yes, if you're describing an object or a process, okay, you can talk about it in two terms. Okay, you can talk about it with its by talking about the way how the parts are organized and describing those parts. Fine, that is the overall idea of describing. Any good description will have two things in it. One, part by part physical description. Two, functional description. Please remember, if you want, you can make a note of these two things: physical description, functional description. So you can begin your technical description with a title. Give it a title. Okay, say the name of the product will be the title of the description. Then you can either use these titles, introduction, body, or you can simply use paragraphs to talk about these things. Now I want you to know one more thing. When you're writing long documents, okay, when you're drafting long documents, please learn to divide your writing into smaller chunks of paragraphs. Have paragraphs in your writing. Even if you're answering a subjective question in the exam, say people have asked you to describe something or write something, please divide your information in paragraphs. Like, so each paragraph dedicated to one idea. Okay, but make sure it is not one long, lengthy. It's difficult to read if you do not divide your writing into smaller paragraphs. So paragraphs help. So please remember, your technical description should also have paragraphs. So the first paragraph can be introductory in nature, where you give general description of the object. Okay, done. And its function, along with the definition. So just an overall idea. So basically a definition will carry all these three things. So you can start with a definition wherein you provide the description and the function. Done. Couple of lines are enough. And in that introduction, also include an overview of the contents of the description, like what it contains. Okay, fine. Then come to describe the product part by part. That's physical description. That will be the main body of your description. So here you provide general appearance, physical properties, its constituents, and so on. Okay. Then how are you going to go about this particular discussion of the parts or characteristics? Right? You need to remember one thing. Okay. The main part of your description is a discussion of each part or characteristic. So you need to include it. In fact, because you're describing, so you cannot skip physical description. You have to provide. You can't simply say its functions, its purpose. You have to provide physical description. Okay. Example, you have to skip something like this. A wooden pencil has a lead, a wooden barrel, and an eraser, and a metal clip. So you are basically talking about its parts. Okay. And then you're going to describe one by one. Got it? Understood? Now, if the object that you're describing is a mechanical thing, what do you understand by the term mechanical?
Something which has metals in it and works on some principle.
Very good. Something that works on a principle, something that runs on a device, machine, right? A machine makes it run. So that's mechanical. Right? So if you're describing a mechanical object or a thing, then you are likely to include two things, as I said in the beginning, that is part by part description and also its functions. Like for example, if you're talking about four-stroke engine, you're going to first talk about different parts of an engine, and then you're going to talk about the process, right? How the cylinder, the piston moves, and the cylinder, it in turn, so all that, the spark, the cylinder, the piston, all, and how they move, how they function. So that's what's going to be included. Now remember, when you're describing, you have to combine all these things together. It has to be a combination of these three things. Definitions, whenever, like each part will have a, see, the product will have one definition, and then each part will have a definition. So it has to be a combination of definitions, physical description, and function. Got it? Okay. All right. So now my next question to you is, if you are describing the parts of an object, in what order do you think you will describe it?
First, we would say with what material it is made up of, then how does it work, and then how is it useful for us.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think my question was not appropriately framed. Let us say you are now describing the parts of an object. Okay, like say, look, visualize phone, right? You have to now give me physical description of the phone and its parts, not the overall description. We are only talking about this thing. Okay, physical description, part by part description. Okay, so in what order will you describe the parts of that object? In this case, let's say mobile phone or anything. In what order will you describe the parts of that object, not the overall description? The parts of the object.
A mobile
It
has
has a metal body.
Okay,
It has a metal body. It has a screen,
okay, fine.
a black screen if it's off,
Based on
and
priority
it
of
has a speaker.
it has a
All right,
charging port
one by
under
one.
it.
Uh-huh.
Has a
based
charging port
on
under it, and
priority,
it has
ma'am.
a
Based on,
microphone.
okay, Balasubramaniam, who is speaking now? Okay, you can raise your hand if you want to. Bala, go ahead.
Adi Karthikeyan.
Okay, Adi, was it Adi? Okay, Adi, go ahead.
Ma'am, a mobile has a microphone on the top of it and the speakers on the left side. Based on the model, it will be left or right, and it has a power button on the right side of it. It has a charging point, microphone, and speaker. Under the mobile, and it has a top speaker on the front of the mobile. On the back side, we can see the camera and the flashlight. It depends on the mobile,
Yeah.
and it has
Now,
a
do you
cam on.
see? Yes, Adi, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you here because you've given me sufficient to discuss. So, if you see, Adi said right, left, top, bottom. So, basically, what was he doing? He was describing the parts in its spatial orders, that is, in the way they are organized, left to right, bottom to, top to bottom, back to front. So, in the order in which they are organized. Okay, anybody else? You can just tell me the order, or you can give it in form of an example, like how uh, Adi did. Okay, Abhinav, you want to say something here?
Yes, ma'am. Means based on the priority of means functionality of different components, we can tell
Very
them.
good. Yes, based on the functionality. That is what feature. Say for example, if it is I'll take the same example, okay, because you're familiar with it, right? Let's say three-stroke engine. So you can start describing the part that functions first, that is spark, and then the piston, then the cylinder. Correct, Abhinav? That what you meant?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So the order in which they function. Okay. Okay, wonderful. And then I had somebody else who wanted to say, you keep your hand raised, I will come to you. There was somebody else with the hand raised.
Ma'am.
Who's that? Yes, go ahead.
Ma'am, I have doubt. Like this explanation by part is like in body only, right? Like
In the body,
in
yes,
part.
it is in the body. Yeah, we are now right now talking about the body of the description, technical
Okay.
description. Hmm. Okay. Yes, Harsha, you want to say something? So
I
we
was
have
the one who
got.
asked.
Oh, so sorry. So confusing, because I'm so sorry.
No problem.
Harshavardhan was talking. Okay. Yes, Harsha. So part by this, so you have various options. Okay. So you have option of either talking in the spatial order, that is top to bottom, left to right, inside to outside, or you can describe it in terms of importance. Like if you're talking about a car, probably you're going to talk about its engine first and then the rest of the body, right? Or central components to the peripheral, what is at the center and then what is at the outside. Like for example, if you're talking about a laptop, you're going to probably talk about the processor first, and then you're going to talk about its screen and so on, isn't it? Right? Or you can talk about the materials that it is made up of and so on, right? So you have various options there. You can choose any order which is suitable for what you're describing. So if it is a mechanical object, then I think most suitable would is what Shrikar probably suggested, right? Function, based on the function. So that was part by part description. Now I will tell you how to incorporate functional description. Now I can't tell you first you give physical description for part and then come to talk about functional description. That doesn't sound logical, right? It doesn't sound reasonable, right? Rational. So what you need to do is you need to decide. Say for example, if you're describing a part, you give its physical properties, what it is made up of, where it is positioned, give its purpose and function. So you can combine all these three things and then present it part by part. You getting me? I hope you understood what I meant, right? Okay. So it can be a combination, as I already said, it can be a combination of function, definition, and description. Okay. Then when you're talking about functional description, you need to talk about how the parts work together to fulfill its function. What are the key principles, the working principles behind the particular part, and wherever descriptions, visual aids. Like for example, when you are presenting specifications or parts, you can put the picture and maybe label the parts and then mention the parts. So use visuals wherever you require it. Like for example, if you're talking about 3-stroke engine, you're going to present one picture for each of the process, for each of the stage. So something like that, right? So depending on the purpose, you have to, if you have to review a product, it's you you have to give all these details. Hmm? Like you can talk about a product, its availability, manufacturing cost, and warning if required. Otherwise you can only mention the product description, the function, and that should be sufficient. But if you want, you can also give the review of the product, how it has been received in the market, its availability, manufacturing cost, warning, and so on. Okay. Any doubt, anything that you want to add? Conclusion is not necessary. Okay. And labeling is also not necessary, but dividing it into paragraphs is compulsory. So now that you know what a technical description is all about, I want you to tell me, where are you likely to find an example of technical description? Where do you come across? What kind of documents do you come across? In what kind of documents do you find technical descriptions? Can you give me examples?
Ma'am, when you buy some electronic gadget guidebook, you get with it. You get all the technical descriptions.
Yes. What is it called? What the booklet that you get along
User
the
manual
product?
Manual.
It's called a
Manual.
user
Guidebook,
manual.
and
Yes,
manual.
yes.
user
Guidebook,
manual, yes.
user, yeah, guidebook, user manual. Yeah, it has different words. Correct, correct. So if you do that today, okay, after this class, just go around and see if you have any user manual lying in your house. You'll find it maybe on the attic or in the loft and some boxes. Open it and see. The first thing that you find is, like, of course, after the warning and all, you'll find specifications. Okay, specifications where they talk about the width and the size and the weight and so on, right? Then you will find something called physical description, where they present to you the cross section view of the product, label the parts and so on. And then each part is being described by talking about what it is, what is the size of it, what it is made of, and what its function is, where it should be assembled and so on. And then you have instructions on how to use the product, correct? Yes, so yes, you are right. User manual is a fantastic example of a technical description, where you use technical description. Anything else where you find a technical description? Yes.
Ma'am, functional description means the specifications, and the physical description means like the describing thing, ma'am, like the width, height,
Oh no,
size.
no. Functional description is how that part functions, works. How does it work? Like, for example, if you this switch, you say turn it, if you push it down it turns on, if you push it up it turns off, on, off. So that is function. But description, specification would be the description part of it. Specifications would be the features, like waterproof, water resistant, lightweight, this big, that big, made of this plastic, made of wood. Although that comes under physical description. Okay.
I'm not that one, ma'am. Like we
Ma'am,
say, no, ma'am, i7 processor, like that we say, no, ma'am.
Okay,
That all
those are specifications. That
those
will
are functional only, no, ma'am. Functional.
See, functional is how it works. What is the, it's see, when you say, let's say for example it is i7 core i7, that is the specification. But what core i7 does for your, how it's processing speed, how it processing your data, all that will be functions, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
So as far as I know, specifications come under your physical description, but the working part of it is your functional. Okay, how do parts work together? That is functional. Fine.
ma'am, museum, ma'am.
Sorry.
Museum.
Okay, museum is, yes, you will. Can you specifically tell me like what you mean by that? Museum.
Ma'am, like when we go to some science exhibitions or any museums, they'll have some description, no, ma'am. Physical
Oh yes.
description and
Oh,
sometimes a
that
functional
way.
description of how it
Correct.
works.
Demos, all the demonstrations that you get, right?
Yes,
The
ma'am.
product
Yes.
demonstrations, correct. The product demonstrations always will have technical description, right? Because you will have slides which to show them what you're saying and you speak, correct. And you also sometimes give descriptions in reports. You will be taught how to write reports, right? So you, especially if it is an accident report, or if it is if it is a feasibility report, you describe, right? So this is where technical descriptions come, or product specifications. The second is an example of user manual, where you describe the design, features, and so on, right? And you also come across this technical, not technical description as such, but there are some instructions that require description to enable readers to visualize what they're doing and what they're working with. Can you give me one example of the third thing? What kind of
Ma'am,
products come with such descriptive instructions?
if in software companies, if we give any new project explanation, we use demo.
Oh yes, demos, correct. In product pre sales demos, when you go to sell your software to a new company, you have something called pre-sale demonstrations. There you use technical descriptions heavily. If you're into sales, and if you're technical sales, then yes. But right now my question to you is, you often come across instructions that require descriptions to enable readers to visualize what they're doing and what they're working with. Can you think of an example for this?
I'm training new employees.
Uh, yes, okay, training new employees. I'm talking about these instruction manuals that come, no, with lot of
While
descriptions,
while
visuals,
while
Yes, ma'am.
doing any experiments,
New app,
experiments. Oh,
new
research.
app operations.
Ma'am, mechanical labs, ma'am. Mechanical labs.
Ma'am,
Mechanical labs.
what about the
Yes,
electronic
yes.
devices, ma'am? Like watches
Yes,
and
yes.
phones.
All of them come. But you
Mechanical
also have,
labs.
one. See, I'm talking about now user manuals, instruction guides. You get these instruction guides where you have these pictures, there's very little written there, but mostly it is present. The instructions are given to you in present, in visual forms, what to do in visuals. What kind of products come with such visual instructions? That is what my question to you is. Can you think of how many
Ma'am,
of you have
system,
eaten
ma'am.
Kinder Joy? How many of you have eaten Kinder Joy?
Yes, ma'am. Construction type.
Yes,
Yes, ma'am, eaten,
Kinder
ma'am.
Joy, yes, construction
Yes,
type. Kinder
ma'am,
Joy, you have
system.
the small folded instruction manual. They do not write anything. Have you seen? They only show you visuals, how to assemble. So all those products which need assembly, like if you buy a piece of furniture and if it needs to be assembled, what do they do? They give you visual description of that, right? The parts and the nuts and the bolts and so on, right? So or let's say if you have Lego toys,
Yes,
toys
ma'am.
also come with those visual descriptions. So that's again a for example of description. So good
System
job,
also, ma'am.
guys.
puzzles.
Different parts of computer.
Ma'am, even
Yes,
IKEA's
yes.
furniture and all.
IKEA furniture, definitely that's an excellent example because those are all assembly furnitures, right? Okay, good to go. So now that we know what technical description is, how to write a technical description and where you find it, I think we now move on to an example. Okay, uh, I want one of you to pitch in here. Who would like to volunteer yourself to read this? Nobody? I have 168 students, 187. Hey guys, what's wrong with you? Anyone can do this, or I'll have to go check the list of the students and pick one of you. Do you want me to do that? Really?
Yes, ma'am, I will do.
Who's this kind soul?
Adhikar.
Okay, Adi. But that's not fair, okay? Same guy is trying to save my dignity and helping me out, not none, okay? It has to be like others also who should pitch in as and when we progress. But thank you so much, Adi, for volunteering to do this. Please go ahead and read it.
Ma'am, at first they have given the overall description of the object, that is the body. The
Very good.
body, the body of the Rayovac workhorse flashlight is 5 to 5 by 8 inches with a diameter of 2 inches at the screw or head end, tapering to 1 to 1 by 4 inches at the battery compartment. The interior of the screw end is threaded, allowing for connection with the bulb assembly. In the bracket they have given see figure 2 for an illustration of the complete flashlight assembly. And then they have given the part by part description, ma'am. That is
So
nothing
if
but
you notice in the body, you have there is a figure that is given, okay, the illustration of the complete flashlight assembly. So you need to insert figures where as and wherever as and where required, okay. And the body, as he rightly pointed out, presents to you an overall description because it says right overall how big it is, overall what are its parts, and then part by part description. Carry on.
yes, ma'am. They have given about the battery compartment, ma'am. The battery compartment holds the batteries, the powers that is the power source for the flashlight. The compartment is cylindrical in shape. It is 3 to 1 by 2 inches long and 1 to 1 by 4 inches in diameter with a coiled metal spring on the interior of the closed end and a 1 by 4-inch wide strip of gold colored metal running along one interior side of the compartment. The compartment holds two 1.5 volt C batteries in a stacked position with the negative end of the lowermost battery in contact with the spring and the positive end of the lowermost battery supporting the negative end of the uppermost battery. The open end of the battery compartment closes with the insertion of the bulb assembly.
Now you should notice the detailed description that is presented of each part, okay, where you have been given pieces of information such as how long it is, what is the shape of the compartment, what it contains, where it is positioned, Okay, and what is its capacity and so on. Done? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. And they have also given about the switch, ma'am. The switch turns the flash on and off. The
So
flash.
that is the function of the switch. Okay, somebody was, so that is the function. The switch turns the flashlight on and off. So what the switch does then?
Yes, ma'am. The flashlight switch is located on the body of the workhouse. That is nothing but the location, ma'am. The 1 to 1 by 2 inches from the screw end. I mean the distance of the location, ma'am.
Yeah, very
The,
good.
the switch is of round white plastic designed to be activated with the thumb of the hand holding the flashlight, ma'am. Means how to switch on they have given, ma'am. With the
And
functionality of the
also what
switch.
it is made of, what it is made of, what is the
Uh,
shape, integrated all that information together.
When the switch is pushed forward towards the larger end of the flashlight, the light turns on. When the switch is returned to the original position, the light turns off. They
That's
have given individual parts
a function.
in their own paragraphs with the subheading.
Yeah, wonderful. I think and that gives you a fair idea of what the technical description is all about. Now that I have done two things already, it's time for you to go and start working on your workbooks. Your lab teacher must have, this is now out for other two batches also. What you need to do is you need to now complete the first assignment, that is on definitions. See, where you have to write definitions for the sentences given there. Okay. So I'll tell you what to do when you write definitions. Now, I don't want you to imagine the definitions and write it on your own. That's not the requirement. The requirement here is to learn how to write the definitions, learning how to the right way of doing the definitions. So what you need to do is you need to refer, of course, you need to go look up for this word on the internet, search for it on the web. Do not depend on one single definition that pops up. I want you to refer to a couple of things, like refer to Wikipedia, which gives you an excellent definition, refer to few dictionaries which give you short definitions. Try and pick things from all these sources, like 3-4 sources. One will give you the right class. If you're not happy with the definition, go and search for other definitions which will help you fix the class. So pick the right class. Then combination of characteristics from different sources, put them together and write your definition. It has to be a short definition only. Okay, no extended definitions. So complete that task by the next lab. First lab will probably be introductory in nature, but I think one EC lab missed the class, right? We cancelled it.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it so? Yes. So in that case, what you guys do is you guys get ready with your first assignment for the lab session. We might want to take it up in the first lab session itself, right? And others can also, if possible, keep it ready. All right. So any doubts?
Yes,
what's the time? And there are few more examples, like I have, in addition to what I just showed you, I have shared two more examples of technical description, a fan and something else. So go and read it for yourself, refer to it for yourself. Thermometer, thank you so much. So that is for your self reference. I'll not take it up in the class. Just wait till I download your attendance and then we will call it off. So I guess we are good to go. Any doubts?
Stop recording.
Thank you so much. And one more thing, your next module will be taken up by some other teacher. We are going to share it. Okay, we are going to